Getting it real with RealChunWai on the hottest topics, frank, engaging and candid. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. A tight race between the Pakatan Harapan and Perikatan Nasional is expected in the coming state elections. But the minority Indians in 60 constituencies may well be the kingmakers. What are the steps being taken to win their hearts and minds and their votes? Let's hear it from PKR MP for Sg Buloh, Datuk R. Ramanan. Salam bahagia. Welcome to the RealChunWai show again. Today we have a very special guest, the MP of PKR from Sg Buloh, Mr. R. Ramanan. He's also the head of the Malaysian Indian Transformation Unit or Mitra. Now, over the past few days, as the competition between Pakatan Harapan and Perikatan Nasional gets higher, gets heated up ahead of the 6 state elections, a lot of things has been said about the importance of the Indian votes. Although the Indians are the minority, but they can be the kingmaker. They are the decisive voters in 60 constituencies. Now, that's a lot, 60. And if the fight between PH and PM gets very intense and very tight, then it's the minority, like the Indians and the Chinese, that will make the difference in deciding who will be the winner. Now, Mr. Ramadan, welcome to my show. Appreciate you find time from your busy campaigning period, running around the 6 states to ensure that the PH will win very well. And more important, of course, is Selangor. Selangor is the jewel in the crown, the most important state. This is the most intense one. So without wasting time, perhaps you can tell us why the Indian votes are so important and the attention is now paid to these Indian voters, especially in Selangor. Sir, please go ahead.
Hi, Dr. Sri. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure. Actually, I completely agree that the fact that the Indian votes are very, very critical at this moment of time. And definitely the Indians will play a very critical role in the number of seats, whereby the majority is only a slight percentage, the difference between the Perikatan Nasional and currently the unity government comprising of Malaysian National and also Pakatan Harapan. Of course, there are a few things that we need to look into very seriously, especially that now we can see that Perikatan Nasional has had a newfound love for the Indian community. This newfound love has long been lost, has not been seen during the years that they were in power. And of course, over the last 8 months, we have not heard anything, whether it's a semblance of having to do anything with the Indian community. But of late, in the past 2-3 weeks, we can see, because of heavy campaigning and as usual, because of the election fever, we have a lot of the Perikatan Nasional leaders who are coming out now and harping on how they love the Indian community. So I feel that this is something which is ridiculous, and they have no capital when it comes and it concerns the Indian community, for the simple fact they have totally forgotten the Indian community exists. And therefore, because of that very simple reason, I believe that the Indian community in Malaysia will realize where it is important for their loyalty to be.
So, IB, for the last 60 years, many Indians are very frustrated. They feel they have been marginalized. And of course, it doesn't help that although the Indians play such a big role in the founding and the formation of the Malaysia and the independence, 1957, the formation of Malaysia in 1963, without the Indians, without the Chinese, and of course, without the Malays, there would be no independence and no Malaysia, plus our brothers in Sabah and Sarawak. And that the Indian population have declined over the years. It has become smaller and smaller. And soon, even the Chinese will drop to 20%, and it will become even smaller. Now, the Indians play such a big role to the economy and everything. But over the last 6 decades, many Indians feel that they've been left behind, marginalized. And as you said, that nobody cares about them. And now there's this new love in your words. What are the frustrations of Indian voters?
Of course, the frustrations vary. Of course, some it's the lifestyle that they have to live. Of course, some it goes to the upliftment of themselves and their household. To some, it goes to education. So, to some, it goes to employment. Some have spoken about employment in the civil service. Some have spoken about job opportunities which are scarce. But those are the basic factors that they feel that there has been a shortcoming on the government over the last 60 years. But of course, right now, I believe there's light. We're finally being able to see light at the end of the dark tunnel that we were in for all these years. And of course, that light right now is our Prime Minister, Yang Berhormat Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, because he is a person who is passionate and he has compassion towards the Indian community and its struggles. And of course, in anything that we do, it will take time for him to make people realize what he's trying to do for us as a community in whole, but not just for the Indians, for the Chinese, for the Malays, for the Sabahans, for the Sarawakians as well.
Maybe, expectations are very high. In this election, the air is very toxic. On one hand, you have the narrative to protect Malay rights and that your rights as Muslims and Malays have been challenged. On the other hand, there's also this narrative to say that, well, under Anwar Ibrahim, he's been there for 8 months. What has the new government really do? So in these 8 months, and as the chairman of the Malaysian Indian Transformation Unit or Mitra, what are the challenges that you feel? 8 months, and there's already a lot of expectations. What are the things that you feel that you can do or has been done?
Okay, so you see, let me first start off by answering the first part of your question, whereby you say that, expectations are high and of course the level of competition and whatnot. But it is actually, it boils down to a very simple question. As I told you just now, the Perikatan Nasional group or party has suddenly found a newfound love for the Indian community. Can I ask you a question instead, Dato Sri, which I know is out of the norm? How many lawmakers who are Indians does Perikatan Nasional have? How many lawmakers who are Chinese does Perikatan Nasional have? They have no love for the Chinese or the Indians. What I feel is sad is seeing how they want Malaysia to look and be seen and portrayed by the outside world. It is already very sad. Of course, race-based politics is something which we should not have. But that is how the world is. Whether you're in the UK or whether you're in America, wherever you are, race-based politics is something which is existent and something that we have learned to live with as time has gone. But what I feel is totally unacceptable and very sad is now it's not a race-based politics anymore. It has become a religion-based politics to Perikatan Nasional. You see? And as I've said before, why I say there's a light at the end of the tunnel, you can see the amount of lawmakers that Pakatan Harapan has. Indian lawmakers, Chinese lawmakers. Of course, there has to be something extra which is given to the Malay community. That's something we have to accept because they are the majority of the country. Yes. And being the majority in the country, of course, if you divide everything into a piece of cake, they are supposed to get their equivalent share the same way the Chinese and the Indians should. But over the past 60 years, I don't see any way how we can justify that we ourselves as Malaysians can accept that the pie was given fairly to the Indian community. But right now, the Prime Minister is making the necessary attempts to make sure everything falls back as it should be fairly. Everybody gets their share of what is supposed to be given. You see? And of course, he doesn't believe in the Malays must get this, the Chinese must get this, the Indians must get this. He believes, what are the Malaysians going to get? And of course, in Mitra, as we can see, we have had a number of announcements, a number of initiatives that we have worked hard on to take off. And we are in the midst of actually rolling out most of these programs. And of course, the uphill battle in anything that we do is there's a limited amount of money which we have to use. All we have is 100 million ringgit, which is spent. But what has been done right now, this 100 million is only allocated for those who are in the B40 bracket. So we want to lift up as many of the B40s that we can into the M40 bracket. So that has been one of the biggest challenges for us at the moment.
Can you name for me some of the programs to help the B40 Indians?
Okay, for example, now those who are in B40 who are studying in government universities, we allocated to pay half their semester fees, which is about 2,000 ringgit. We allocated for 10,000 students, 2,000 ringgit a student, 20 million in total. We have of late also opened for private university and colleges so that they also can apply so that we can subsidize a portion of their semester fees. Among other initiatives that we have done, which earlier I mentioned, the education is the 10,000 students we have helped. We have also given 8.6 million for dialysis patients. We have given 10.8 million for preschool children. So we have looked after education to, I think, on the different segments they are. Of course, we have gone into job employment, which is something which is very important at the moment right now. Job employment is something which is a very difficult thing. You have a lot of graduates coming out, but they have difficulty in getting a job, right? So we have tied up together with a couple of big companies. For example, Westar. Westar is the third largest aviation company in the world, largest in our region. So we have got job security for 100 people, 100 students who will be trained in under a Westar program and will be guaranteed jobs at the end of their tenure. So it's a 21-month course, 9 months of theory, 12 months of practical training, and in that 12 months of practical training, they will be paid about 4,000 ringgit. And after that, they have a guaranteed job to work with Westar, starting at 3,000 ringgit. And of course, it can go anywhere up to 10, 20, even 30,000 ringgit because jobs, Middle East, the opportunities are endless. So that is one portion of it. Of course, we have also done those who maybe might not want to work in the aviation industry. We have, for TVET, we have got one of the leading TVET companies, a company run by Dr. Sri Ganesh, who's in the TVET board of Malaysia, under a company called Sg Academy. We have 150 jobs available for people who want to become drone pilots. Something which is very crucial right now. It's a 21-day course, and immediately after the 21-day course, they start with a starting salary of 3,000 ringgit, and it goes up to anywhere between 3 to 7,000 ringgit in a very short period of span.
Interesting.
We also have, SG Academy, 250 places for EV technicians. Also a 21-day course. Immediately after the 21-day course, they start with a starting salary of 3,000 ringgit, and it goes up to anywhere between 3 to 7,000 ringgit. So those are on the job basis. Of course, we also have other initiatives which we haven't rolled out, but just to give you a sneak preview on a few of those initiatives, Dr. Sri, we also have GDL, a driving license program, which we haven't finalized yet, where we are thinking and working out how it will be received by the general Indian community who are in the B40 bracket. We want to offer 1,000 license for trailer, lorry, buses, licenses. So those are that's one of the initiatives which are thinking of carrying forward. Also, we have about an allocation which we have preset for about 1,000 petty traders, so that we give them an opportunity to start trading and uplift their business, which they're already doing. But all of this is still in the pipeline stage where we are trying to work out. But one of the big things that we are actually in the midst of finalizing right now is another working partner that we have, which is Maybank. We are going to give out, we are thinking of going to give out 10,000 insurance packages for 10,000 breadwinners, Indian B40 breadwinners. You see, a lot of the issues happen when there is a passing away of a family member. Already it's a sad period of time, but they are coupled with that, not just death, but debt. They are also coupled with, your credit cards, housing payment, car payments, and a big burden of things, funeral expenses. So we've come up with a package whereby these 10,000 people will be protected. They will get 50,000 should there be a death benefit the family will receive, 50,000 if there's a permanent disability, 20,000 if there's a critical illness which sadly was to befall them. There's 2,000 ringgit for funeral expenses, which is still a little bit short, but it's something which will at least help. And of course, there's also, if they were to be hospitalized, there's a 50 ringgit a day additional help so family members can transport themselves and at least meet the breadwinner in the hospital. And of course, one of the other things which I think is something which is a very good initiative, in my opinion, is our working together and joint venture, which we have already done and is in the midst of its rollout stage, is with Google. We have given 6,000 computers to 527 Tamil schools nationwide. So it's roughly, we are giving a ratio of 3 computers per student per standard, so that they will be able to have computer labs in these particular schools, so that they will be able to teach students using a much more advanced program.
So for parents, young people who are watching this program, how can they find out more about some of the courses and the programs that's been offered by Mitra?
Of course, Mitra has advertised and published most of these courses and also initiatives and endeavors that we are carrying out. But they can, of course, go to www.mitra.gov.my, and everything is quite clear and easy and simplified in an easy to access version for them as well.
How has all this work by Mitra, all these efforts, how have they been conveyed to the Indian community?
If you were to look back prior to history, Mitra in some way or another, Dato Sri, whether it's using the same name or you have, of course, you have had SIDIC, you have had SITF and whatnot before, the impact of that money has never been felt by the Indian community. In fact, up to today, if you go back from 2016, when this 100 million was there, the 100 million has never been spent. Shockingly to tell you, they have returned back money every single year. I think the total return back, if I'm not mistaken, I have to check the figures. If I'm not mistaken, the total return is a couple of 100 million. Which is a total waste.
Why does this happen?
Well, I think I don't want to comment on that, because I don't want to offend the previous establishment or those who were running the institution before this, the unit before this. But it was really bad. There were, of course, a lot of issues where there were corruption and all sort of things which were going on. But up to today, I've taken the necessary measures to make sure that issues like that will not arise. For example, in all our committee meetings, we have one officer from the SPRM who is present, one officer from the Integrity Department which is present. Up to today, we have roughly rolled out more than 80 plus million ringgit. And we are actually, in fact, a little bit short of funds to complete the entire programs that we have done. So I believe that this is something which will be very impactful to the large group of people who have received it. Of course, I'm not saying that, hey, we've done our part for the Indian community. There's a lot more that needs to be done, but you need to give us a little bit of time. The fact that we have shown that we're coming up with these initiatives and we have managed to utilize whatever it is which is given to us is, of course, a starting point.
How does the program where Mitra provides 100,000 for each constituency, how does it work?
Okay, of course, this 100,000 which is provided, it's not for all constituencies, Dawsri.
Okay.
It is for 72 parliaments in 38 districts. These 38 districts house the largest amount of the Indian population in the country. It's about 1.7, 1.8 million Indians who are in these 38 districts, 72 parliaments which we have selected. And in these 72 parliaments, we are giving this money for the B40 on a targeted basis.
Okay.
You see, even let's say, for example, you asked a very pertinent question just now, Dr. Sri, in regards to how do people know about Mitra? How do people know what Mitra is doing? How do people know what are the initiatives? How do they apply? What can they get from Mitra? We can, as I said before, publish, we can announce, we can put on social media, there is the website, but there are a very small amount of Indians who are unreachable through social media because neither do they have internet connection, neither do they have a smartphone. So these Indians only can be reached by people who are in the area, i.e. your MP. So it's targeted. So it is to reach the Indians who are in the B40 bracket or category, which we are not able to reach. So we have allocated this for these MPs because they would know best where these people are, what their difficulties are and necessities are, and how they should and can be helped. Therefore, that is why we allocated that 100,000 for them.
Okay. So part of this awareness program and outreach program.
It's not just an outreach program, it's a help-based program. It's to uplift them the best way they can. But at the same time, when they do this program, it's a joint venture done together with Mitra. Therefore, the Indians will realize, hey, Mitra is doing this. Of course, the Indian community just doesn't have Mitra alone. They have Mitra, they have Tekun. There are many avenues that the Indian community have. It is just that a lot of these avenues which are provided by the government seem to be unutilized.
So when you took over this job of Mitra, I understand that there are plenty of challenges, plenty of headaches. You have plenty to clean up and to make sure everything was in order. Can you share with us some of the challenges that you had to handle?
One of the biggest challenges that I had to face, but I'm very lucky, because why? It's a committee. I have 3 other MPs who sit in the committee with, 2 other MPs who sit in the committee with me, one senator as well. And I think recently Dr. Sri is thinking of adding another MP who's inside as well. So we work together well. And one of the greatest tasks for me, even with all this help that we've had, is to clean the image of Mitra, because it was so tainted before this, and that was the most difficult part. And also getting the Indian community to believe that, hey, this time Mitra will deliver for you guys. So that was the greatest hurdle, number one. And number two, it was also to find initiatives, find ideas, find programs which will genuinely uplift the community. Mitra is not an handout agency. That's something which is very important. It is for the social upliftment of the Indian community, Sri.
Can you share with us a bit of your journey so far as an MP? Sg Buloh is actually a big area, huge area, stretching from the poorer section of Kota Damansara to the rich section of Kota Damansara to Tropicana, the rich guys, where the former Prime Minister lives, and of course to many parts of Sg Buloh. It's really a huge area. I've since I live in Sg Buloh, parliamentary constituency, I've actually had the benefit of moving around. And during those campaign period, I told myself, my God, whoever becomes MP is going to have a major headache. It's really a tough work. Huge area, urban, and different strata of society. So in Sg Buloh, what are the issues that you handle as an MP?
Of course, it is a very big area. It ranges all the way from Kota Damansara right to the end of Paya Jeras. And surprisingly, we also border Shah Alam, Kuala Selangor, Petaling Jaya, it is a big area, and of course we have to work with a very large group of agencies as well, state and government, federal and otherwise, because of the sheer size of the constituency. But one I would say blessing that I have is I've got two aduns who were there prior to this, who assisted in their part as well. And of course, it makes things easier that both the aduns from Kota Damansara and from Paya Jeras also are from PKR. So we are able to work together as a team to make life easier. Of course, poverty is one of the main issues, as everywhere we have poverty. That's one of the issues. But if you were talking in Kota Damansara, the main issue that we face is the traffic congestion issues. Something which is a little bit difficult to handle, because, I mean, you can't build something when there is not enough space, And of course, among the other issues is we have a little bit of flash flood situations, which we are in the midst of solving the problem. Of course, in the Paya Jeras area, you have the basic issues, poverty, one of it. And of course, you have certain roads which are in not so good condition, which we are slowly and time by time we are solving. We have street lights. It's your basic issues, but I think because of the fact that I'm able to work hand in hand with the state assemblymen who are there, it makes my life a little bit easier.
What are the state's constituencies under Sg Buloh?
We have two. Before this, Sungai Buloh, before it was called Sungai Buloh, it was part of Subang. So when it was part of Subang, we had three state assemblies under us, which was Paya Jeras, Kota Damansara, and Bukit Lanjan. But of course, after the redelineation, Bukit Lanjan is no more part of Subang. It's now where we call it Sungai Buloh, where you have Paya Jeras and Kota Damansara. So we have two state seats there, and both are being contested again by PKR candidates.
So in heading towards the state election, these two seats, of course, are very important. I believe they are mixed seats, right?
Yeah, one is a mixed seat, which is Kota Damansara. Of course, Paya Jeras is a little bit more a Malay seat. You have a very small portion of Indians there and a small portion of Chinese.
Yeah. So how has the campaign, I know it hasn't started, but everybody else have gone to the ground. And so far, what has been the reaction on the ground, and what are the sentiments of the voters in these two areas?
Of course, in these two areas, one thing that has been a very good thing, if we look at the Malay community, of course, they're happy because they've been well taken care of at this moment for the time being. I think a lot of the announcements which were made by the Prime Minister has had a very positive impact on the Malay community. I don't think just in Kota Damansara and Paya Jeras, but as in the nation as a whole. Of course, for the Chinese community, they're very well to do on their own. And of course, whatever assistance which is needed is taken care well by the government of the day as well. But on part of the Indian community, I would say that largely they are very happy, particularly because of the fact they also right now realize that Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim has given them something which proves that he really is a person who's passionate and committed to solving a lot of the Indian problems. As you said, Dr. Sri, for the last 60 years, we've been having a problem of the Indian community's wishes, asks, are not really being attended to. But if you were to observe, Dr. Sri, a couple of days ago, actually, Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim made an announcement that he's going to make Tamil available and compulsory in all sekolah menengah and sekolah kebangsaan. I think this is a very big step forward. The Indian community is probably waited 60 plus years to hear something like this. A lot of the Indian children who go to government schools and are not in the Tamil medium of education will be left out in terms of being able to understand and speak Tamil, which happens to be our mother tongue. It's part of our culture,
Yeah.
So for those who are fortunate, you can go to your kebangsaan, sekolah kemenengah, or private schools or international schools, but you will be able to have that luxury of having private tuition to learn your mother tongue, learn your culture. But what about those who are less fortunate, who are unable to pay and go for these tuition classes? They will never have an opportunity actually to learn their culture and their mother tongue. And I think the fact that the Prime Minister has taken this into consideration, it genuinely shows his interest and the love that he has for the community.
I think he used the word elective subject for schools, but it's important. And he also stressed the importance of English. We all understand, we all accept that Bahasa Malaysia is the official language, and it is the most important language of all. I think that we're very lucky that Malaysia is a very diverse nation. We have our strength. And most people, when they come to Malaysia, they are very surprised. They find that Malaysians can speak so many languages. Even the people from China, when they come to Malaysia, they can only speak, in China, they can only speak Mandarin. In maybe southern China, they can speak Cantonese. But when they come to Malaysia, they are really amazed that people can speak Chinese, the Mandarin, Hokkien, Teochew, Hakka, whatever. And of course, Tamil is so important because of India. It's such a big economy. It's always an asset when you're able to speak the language. You can speak Arabic, you can speak Tamil, you can speak Hindi, you can speak Mandarin, you can speak Indonesian, and we have all that strength and all the networking because Malaysia is a diverse society. So it's really, I think the pledges and the encouragement made by Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim to promote Tamil is really something unprecedented of all the prime ministers. Now, because we are speaking on the importance of the Indian votes, okay, the 10% in 60 constituencies, and we all know that we should be talking as a Malaysian. But as you say, that we cannot run away from the fact that there's always this racial element that we just have to take it more positive, okay? Now, since independence, okay, as I know, the alliance, the Barisan Nasional, there have always been more than one Indian cabinet minister. Of course, that Anwar has found himself in a very tight position because it's a unity government with the Barisan Nasional, with UMNO, and of course with other parties, Sabah and Sarawak. He doesn't have the luxury of a strong government where he can decide what he really wants. So it's a unity government, and there's a lot of compromises, a lot of give and take, and he is so trying very hard to limit the number of cabinet positions to make it thinner. But the reality is that some of the jobs are really, really heavy. I find that Nick Nasmi actually has a very heavy responsibility. His environment ministry is probably one of the heaviest, okay? So plus others. Now, I just want to know that there's one Indian cabinet minister, the human resources minister. I know that Anwar has been trying to balance this game, okay? How to accommodate everyone, okay? How to accommodate everyone in interest of the nation, a thinner cabinet, and so forth. But after 8 months, 8 months is 8 months in 2023, okay? In a unity government is very long for many people, okay? Essentially, by right, people will say 8 months, I can't do much, okay? But expectations are very high. Now, I don't know whether I'm asking the right question to you, okay? Do you really think that another Indian minister will be sufficient to cater for the needs of the community from Malaysia, and perhaps to lighten the burden of the other ministers and make this administration an effective one, okay? An effective one, so everybody can say that, look, that more can be done in a much better way. Your views, please. I do not know how to phrase this question correctly, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say. How to make this cabinet a much more effective one without it being bloated, and at the same time having to accommodate all the interests of all communities.
Actually, to be honest, Dasri, you have asked the question and answered the question. You see, you are right, as rightly put, Dasri, this is a unity government. You must understand Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim's predicament. and the situation that he has had to deal with. No prime minister has had to deal with that, immediately being given the job as prime minister to form a government. They have to understand the amount of parties, the amount of constituents, the amount of problems that he has to handle at that period of time. You have Barisan Nasional, which comprises of UMNO, MIC, MCA. You have the Sarawak parties, GPS, PBS. You have the Sabah parties, GRS. You have the PH parties, which are Amanah, DAP, PKR. You know, of course, at that period of time, you had Muda as well, which seems a little bit confused right now. But you've had all of these parties which you had to work together, put them all in one basket, make sure everybody has a portion of the cake where they are able to deliver for their segment of the community, their portion of their supporters, the party, and the general public. Of course, the community comes first. And having to deal with all of that, he had to form the best cabinet that he sees fit, a cabinet that he can work with. Having a big cabinet and being unable to work with them is pointless. Of course, you also have to see the other predicament which Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim has put himself into, whereby he's helming the Federal Territory Ministry. He's helming MOF. He has his job as the Prime Minister. He's got to handle local problems, international problems. You can see the man. He's in KL in the morning. He's in Hanoi in the afternoon. He's back in Johor in the evening. And he rounds up his day in Putrajaya at night. Yeah. So he's traveling, he's moving, he barely has time to see his family sometimes. Yeah. So let alone us as party members and MPs. So of course it is something no prime minister wishes, to have a job which is this packed and filled, whereby you are unable to do anything but focus solely on the country. But because of his persistence, perseverance, stamina, he's able to do what a very handful can do in this world, not in this country. But it's something that he has taken charge of doing. So he's had to deal with all those issues from the day one to this 8th month, which we have come to, right? Of course, we have to trust in his wisdom. He will know what needs to be done best at what period of time. We've trusted him. After 25 years, we've got here. It's not a short journey. And I think 8 months to change the lives of 30-odd million people is a very uphill task. But we are getting there, because you can. The changes that we are seeing are visible changes. You see? Of course, for the cabinet to be more effective, as you say, of course, they need additional help. Nobody is going to say no to additional help. Right? Of course, additional help will always be needed. And we are there to help in all ways, you know. But I think as for the moment up to now, Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim is taking on a very, very huge work load, and he's doing a fantastic job. And we should give him some credit on that, you know.
Okay, YB, one last question. Give me a short one before we wrap up this program. Your message to voters of the 6 states, especially in Selangor, Penang, Negeri Sembilan, and particularly in Sg Buloh. Okay, your message to the voters ahead of the PRN. Your call, please, sir.
The federal government is run by Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim, which has a combination of Barisan Nasional, GPS, GRS, and Pakatan Harapan. In order for us to work together, we must be united. We must be able to have the state cooperating with the federal government. Not that right now, you can see, for example, in Kedah, there are so many issues whereby the state government is not cooperative at all towards the federal government. People are working in different tandems. So in order for us to administer the country better, have unity, and have a good way moving forward, and give Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim a chance to run this government well without all this extra politicking. Make the wise choice, vote for Pakatan Harapan, vote for Barisan Nasional, vote for this unity government.
Thank you. Thank you, YB, for taking time off and
Thank you,
sharing
it
this
was my
discussion with us.
pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I will, you have to take me for around Sungai Buloh, my neighborhood. What the best place for curry fish head.
We got a lot of good food in our place, Dato Sri.
Yeah, man. Okay. To all Malaysians and followers around the world, please like, share, and subscribe this program. And that we will keep you informed. We hope to have YB back to share with us on the latest on the PRN. Goodbye. Stay tuned.
Thank you. Goodbye, Dato Sri.